evening, everyone. My name is Fallon Muncy, and I am the Assistant Director of Global Enrollment at New Mexico Military Institute, better known as NMMI, located in Roswell, New Mexico. We're so glad you could join us tonight. Joining us tonight are some of our faculty. Please introduce yourselves and say what you teach and how long you have been at NMMI.
I'll go first. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Patricia Matchin. I teach English and psychology, and I've been here for 17 years.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Mayo Fincher, and I'm an associate professor of philosophy, and I also serve as the Department Chair of Fine Arts and Philosophy.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Frank Kimbler, and I've been with NMMI for just about 12 years, and I teach earth science on the high school side, and I teach geology and earth science related things on the college side as well.
Hi, this is Dr. Yang. I teach physics, college physics, and sometimes engineer related courses. I've been here teaching since 2009, so 15 years.
And I'm Orlando Griego. I'm the Chief Academic Officer, Dean of Academics. I've been here just going on 3 years now, and I want to teach. Somebody will give me a job there teaching, would be great.
Thank you so much to all of our faculty for joining us tonight. We want tonight to be interactive. So tonight we want to hear your questions about NMMI as we give you a better understanding of our campus and our programs. What do you want to know about our academics at NMMI or life at NMMI in general? Please ask us on social media using hashtag AskNMMI, post them in the YouTube chat, or snap them to us at NMMI Live. Let's begin with Lieutenant Colonel Matchin. Why do you think cadets and their families choose NMMI?
I think there are several reasons. I think the high school cadets come to us because we have such challenging academics. I think we also have the ability to provide upper division classes. So our high school cadets could actually take college level courses at a certain stage. I think our junior college students, many of them come here, I think, for our early commissioning program and athletics. But I think overall it's the fact that we have some great faculty. Our academics is challenging, and we also have that leadership aspect that not many other schools can provide.
Thank you. Lieutenant Colonel Kimbler, what do you see in your classroom every day that makes our cadets stand out from a typical student?
You know, what I see in my classroom every day, or in all the classrooms, is I see lots of respect for not only the teachers, but the students themselves, and lots of camaraderie, the friendship between the students. And that makes them, if you want to look at it, it's kind of like they're family, and they know that. It's a sense of belonging. They belong to something.
Thank you. Dr. Mayo Fincher, what has been one of the most memorable lessons you've ever taught at NMMI?
That's a wonderful question. So it's also a very hard one to answer. In my 11 years at the Institute, I've had a number of really memorable moments, but I would say that a couple years back, I was teaching Plato's Republic in my Greek philosophy class, and I had a student from Germany who initially was not very happy with me for having to read one of the more difficult of Western philosophical text in a language that was not his, first language. And so it was really a kind of illuminating semester for him, though, as he realized that so many of the notions that Plato had in, roughly 600 BCE are still difficulties that we have within our current democracy, difficulties we have as leaders, as society members, as people who are beholden to social contracts, moral responsibilities, and doing our best to achieve those sorts of responsibilities. And so it was really neat to see this student kind of awaken and enliven himself to the text. And then he became a great disciple in a certain way of Plato, and was going around and getting everyone else involved. And so before I knew it, I had many members of the football team who were suddenly interested in trying to learn Plato. And so the level of enthusiasm was just really inspiring.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Dr. Yang, how is teaching at NMI different than teaching at any other institutions that you've been at?
I've been teaching at the Indiana University for a couple of years when I taking my PhD programs right there. The difference is the personal connection that I can set up with the cadets. At the big university, your class size is 200, 300s. And when I'm teaching, I'm just teaching. So I don't know what is the feedback from the students. Well, at NMMI is completely different. I can feel when I deliver the content to them, I can feel the reaction from them. We can quickly set up that connection. And along the semester, as time goes on, after I finish the semester, I feel like I set up this strong bond with my students, and they trust me, and I trust them, and this helped me to deliver my lessons much better. And I communicate with them with variety tools offered by NMMI, the team messages. I feel like sometimes they call me mom at the end of the semester, and I feel like I'm their mom. I'm their second mom in the classroom. And that makes me feel so good. I treat them as my kids and they treat me as their second mom in the classroom. And that type of connection you could never, to my experience, I didn't teach a lot of places, but that's the things, that feeling actually is the feeling keep me working at NMMI for this many of years. I would not give up that one. And I like the personal interactions with my students in the classroom. It's just because the class size I have.
Thank you so much. We had a quick question come in. How would, from Gunnar Anderson, how would the 2-year college course benefit his career path? He wants to join the Marines after high school, but contemplating how would college benefit him versus if he joins the Marines.
I'm happy to speak to some of that. I would just say that I think one of the benefits of attending our school would be that we do have a officer commissioning program. So that's a really excellent pathway, the ECP program, for students to come in with a military career in mind. I think that in any course of studies, I think we on our campus do an especially good job of thinking about ethics, thinking about core values. And certainly that's something that in the philosophy program, we're really focused on attempting to have students think about the sorts of decisions they're making, how authority operates, really difficult dilemmas that you enter into. How do you make a decision? That sort of critical thinking, that sort of thoughtfulness really needs to be honed in order to have a successful military career. And so I think that would be the benefit of taking those college classes and getting that sort of training. It really engages the mind in very important ways for that life of service.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I would like to add to that. We do have an early commissioning program. If they're going to spend 2 years here getting their associate's degree, they can also get their commission. And as soon as you graduate, you actually are an officer as a second lieutenant, and then they go and send you off if you want to go get your to start to finish up your degree, your bachelor's degree, and you continue on. But you're basically a student for those 2 years while you're in rank and you're getting paid. So it's a good deal. We also have a self-prep program and an academy prep program. So anybody has interest in going to the academy or try to get into the academy, we have a program to help them with that. And if nothing else, if they don't want to do any of those areas, they have their degree, they can eventually go on to even think about an early commissioning program. But even if they don't do early commissioning program, we have so many faculty and staff have served in the military, so they can serve as good mentors for anybody that just wants to go into the military and find out what's it like. And we have Marines, Air Force, Army, Coast Guard. We've had it all here, Navy.
Thank you. Dean Griego also, NMMI has high levels of accreditation for our academic programs. What does that mean for our cadets?
The nice thing about being accredited by the two different areas, Higher Learning Commission and Cognia, most institutions just have one, but we're required to have two because we have a high school and we have a college. Well, that means that we get twice as many visits coming over here, and that means we have twice as many standards that we have to meet. So that requires us to really be at the top of our game, because when they come here, they look at us a fine tooth comb. They look at the classes, they look at the content that they teach, they look at our finances, they look at institutional effectiveness, they look at integrity. They look at your mission and vision statement, everything, and especially they look at teaching and learning and how effective you are in both of those areas. And if you fail, you're no longer accredited. This institution will no longer be accredited. We can no longer offer courses. We've never been in that position in 132 years, nor we plan to be in that position. In fact, we usually do so well in our last accreditation. We have very few comments that they had that they were pretty happy with our work, both sides.
Thank you. Also, Dean Griego, what do you think differentiates our faculty from others in the field?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you guys remember, Dr. Mayo Fincher, who you just heard from before, she's a perfect example of that. Her as the chair, not only does she have a doctorate, but every single one of her people has a doctorate. The art teacher, the choir teacher, the band teacher as well, all have doctorates. One of the most talented group of people, and this is very typical. 98.3% of our faculty have a master's or doctorate. It's the highest in the state of New Mexico. The state average is 47%, and we're twice that, just to give you a sense of that. And we only hire people that are highly qualified as well. So we get a lot of people that have taught before, and they come here, one, because they have really good students and a low student ratio to teacher ratio. So you really get to do a chance to impact people as much as you possibly can. And as Dr. Yang had mentioned, they're very caring, they're very thoughtful, very engaging approaches to the way they do things. They can do a lot of active learning as they go through that. But I also going to tell you that's a very rigorous program. Just the math alone has 30 questions a night, not in a week that some people might have, but every single night. And then when you take a test on Friday, there's no calculator. So, and there's a reason for that. It's to prepare you. And as we, a little bit later on, I'll share some of those numbers as to how well we do because we do those things. But it's rigorous and it's relevant. And that's what makes ours rather unique compared to others out there.
Thank you, sir. Can you also talk a little briefly about the dual enrollment program at NMMI?
Yeah, the dual enrollment program is pretty exciting, actually, I think. You can actually get your high school degree and your associate's degree in 4 years. You have to maintain a certain GPA. It is quite a crunch, but we do get quite a number of students that do that. It may be average somewhere between 5 to 10 per year that do that really want to go do that. But it gives you an opportunity to have 2 degrees. So let's say at 18, you already graduated with high school and an associate's degree. Now, think of how much money you get to save when you go off to a college. You only have 2 more years of college. That's a big savings for parents as well. So it's a terrific program. It prepares students really well for the college world and college life, so that when they get there, they're generally at the top of their game, and their GPAs will go up even from here or from a typical other school as well. So it's a terrific program.
Thank you, sir. We have a lot of questions coming in, so let me direct this one. Damian Spears asked, if I stay in NMMI for my entire high school years, what options will get open for me after high school? Lieutenant Colonel Matchin?
You're muted.
I think you're muted, ma'am.
Sorry about that. I didn't. Okay, so I think coming here for all 4 years, not only like academically, we provide some courses that the challenging courses that we provide actually prepare them for those upper level college courses. We're a college preparatory high school, so some of the skills that we teach our high school students, like critical thinking, the proper research and scholarly type of work is going to prepare them for some of those more prestigious universities. Socially, I think it really does kind of help with a bonding of when you come here, you become part of a group that most of the faculty don't, even though we work here, we would never be part of that. I don't want to call it a brotherhood or a fraternity because it's not just one area. It's more of like I guess a community where for even when you graduate from here, everyone's going to be part of that group as an NMMI graduate. And anywhere you go, you run into these people who also were graduates, but 30 years before you. And it's that camaraderie you didn't realize you would have. And I have nephews and a niece that have come here, and it's a network that they will have for the rest of their lives.
I'd like to add to that myself. NMMI has been around for a long time, since 1891. We've graduated a lot of people, and a lot of people in very important places in corporations and academia. Believe it or not, we may be a small school, but people know who we are, and they know what kind of education we are giving to our students. They know that.
Thank you, sir. Another question, Dean Griego from Philip. He asked if we could talk a little bit more about the 2-year ECP program as well as the Academy Prep program.
Sure, early commissioning program. If you come here and you want to get part of that, it's starting at the college level. Then you would sign up for the early commissioning program, which is also part of ROTC. So it's the Army ROTC program, and it's pretty intense. So because typically I was an ROTC instructor at one point, and usually it's 4 years. They do it all in 2 years. So sometimes you have to get up early in the morning. Sometimes you're running around, marching. You're doing everything that is possible. The idea is to prepare you to become an officer in the United States Army. If you don't want to do the Army, there's the opportunities to go for any one of the other academies. We'll talk about that in just a second. But that ROTC program, you finish up in 2 years, then they send you off to really wonderful colleges to choose from. Syracuse University is one of those universities, and it's paid for by the Army. And then in return, you owe them a certain amount of time, but you have already started early on. So you literally could finish up your Army career at age 38 with 20 years of service, which most people cannot do that. So that's a pretty neat thing. The other thing you talked about was the self-prep program and the Academy Prep program. The Academy Prep program, there's different approaches to that. There's those that they go through the senator and the legislature, the representative, and they get the letter, and then they actually get a place in the academy. But because they're not quite ready, maybe because of their math scores or English or something else, the academies will say, we're going to do that, but we're going to send you to NMMI to make sure that your grades are at a high level. And so they'll go through that type of program. And then it's pretty rigorous because we prepare them, not just academically, we prepare them physically. So, our Academy Prep director has a thing we call smoking. He literally has them run a mile. And then after you've done a mile, that's not enough, run 2 miles now. And then they're doing push-ups and everything else. It's pretty intense. But the idea is that they get there. And our Academy graduates are some of the best out there in the academy. We track them, we follow them, their grades go up. I'll give you a perfect example. Air Force Academy grads that went over there, they were 4.0 perfect scores last year that went there, especially within the sciences and the math area, because we're so strong in those areas. So and then the self-prep program is one of those things that I didn't go through the process with the state legislature or with the legislature or the senators to try to get a letter. But you can try to sign up for it. And about 30% of those kids will get into the academy. We just prepare them really well. And then, they can get there. And even if they don't want to do that, they can then move into the early commissioning program and then go through ROTC. And it's still, let's say that still doesn't work out. They just finish up their degree after they finish their associates and then go through officer candidate school or officer training school if you're in the Air Force approach. So there's three different ways to become an officer here, and we provide that opportunities all throughout.
Thank you, sir. Lieutenant Colonel Kimbler, how would you describe a typical day in your class?
A typical day in my class, I start my class out, and not every instructor does this, but I do this because I'm kind of a little bit old world. I bring my class to attention, and I take roll, and then they're put at ease, so they sit back down, and from there I tell them what we're going to be doing for the day, and we either do some hands-on activities, laboratory exercises. What I try to do in my classroom is I'm big on multimedia, so I will mix multimedia with hands-on stuff, so as not to bore them completely and totally to death with what they call death by PowerPoint. But that's the way I run my classes. It's very we have lots of question and answer sessions in there. It's very relaxed. I ask a lot of questions, and hopefully they remember some of the things that they learned from the day before. And that's how call it guiding. They get guided along in the activities during the class, and from stuff that we learned from the previous times.
Thank you. Another question from Alicia. Dr. Mayo Fincher, maybe you can help with this. For incoming freshmen in high school, what resources are available to help them acclimate to being away from home for the first time?
Sure, I'm happy to answer that. So I think that one of the things that we've been really strong at, and especially in the past, say, 10 years, has been trying to acknowledge that, freshmen are going to have difficulty acclimating to that change, being away from home. Of course, it's a very emotional process for them. And so I think that one of the things that we've been able to successfully do is implement a number of ways to help track the students. The advisors work with them frequently to make sure they're all, when they come into our campus, they're assigned an advisor who will stay with them for their entirety of their high school education. And so that advisor gets to know them well. The advisors are wonderful about being in, ready communication, routine communication with parents. We also have the freshmen are taking the same courses. So they create their own kind of like Lieutenant Colonel Matchin was talking about earlier, camaraderie really forms amongst those groups. And we have different moments in the Corps where they're starting to have achievements and tests that they're going through so that they begin to feel that sense of belonging to the Institute. But we do have many resources for the students. From the faculty side, what that looks like is we do have an early warning system where we're tracking the students every day, making sure we're updating it to see, if the student is having a hard week or a hard day, we're updating it in our system so that other faculty members, other members of our staff on the Corps side, we're all aware of what's going on with a cadet, and we're all working in coordination to help that student acclimate to our campus. So I think that we have a few things in terms of systems and software, but also in terms of programs to just make those students part of like a consortium so that they get the support that they need.
Thank you so much. Dean Griego, can you talk a little bit about the Scholars Program at NMMI?
Yeah, we did talk a little bit about that before. Remember that we have, when it relates to the dual credit program, but this one is a little bit different because you have to be at the top of your game. In order to get into the Scholars Program, as you have to start as a freshman, and this goes through 4 years, and you have to have a 3.5 just to start, just to get in, and you have to maintain that 3.5. It's rigorous. You're going to take far more difficult courses. You're going to be challenging courses as well. I'm going to ask Dr. Mayo Fincher to discuss this in just a bit, but it is pretty intense. But the reason for the intensity is not just to make it difficult for them, but to prepare them for some of the finest colleges out there. A lot of those kids go to really good schools, New Mexico Tech, Texas Tech, Harvard, the Citadel, many of the academies. It goes on and on and on. They're just at the top of their game, and they take pride in the amount of work. So if you have a particular student, son or daughter that is just really good at academics and they really want to be successful at that, they really want to think about the Scholars Program because it will prepare them really well for that world of college.
Thank you, sir, for that information. And I just think I would like to continue on and provide kind of a little bit of the curricular training that the students will receive. So they do apply for that program in their freshman year, like Colonel Griego was saying. If they're accepted into the program, one of the things that they get to do early on is they start taking college courses. So one of the first college courses they take is the English Creative Writing course. And that's a really neat course. The students get to make the Maverick magazine as part of that. So they learn about online publishing, online editing. They get to train their skills in those ways. That's invaluable to them as they continue throughout their career. It gives them unique experiences. For example, one of the students in that class had 3 poems published in journals in the United States that are notable journals, even as a high school student. She's a senior this year. So that's really an enriching experience for those kids. As they get into sophomore year, what they do is over the summer, they'll go ahead and accelerate in their English class so that by the time they take a sophomore English class over the summer, so that by the time they're a senior, they're taking the college English class. They've already completed all their English courses for high school. And so sophomore summer, they're doing their English course. And they're also in the junior summer, they get other opportunities so they can go take a class at St. John's, a really, really premier institution in Santa Fe, or they can go to the one in Annapolis to take that course. They can do study abroad in the summer. Some of them have taken Spanish courses in Spain with our Spanish teacher. And so they have so many opportunities available to them. In their senior year, they take a philosophy class, and then they do a scholar's thesis in the spring of their senior year. And what that allows them to do is they're paired with a faculty member of their choosing. And so they get to choose an intellectual topic that they're interested in and really delve into that topic, do research with the support of a faculty member, the direction, and produce what we call the scholar's thesis. So it's a really opportunity that typically is only available to people in a senior year of college, or even in some cases, a graduate program where they're really getting to engage with an intellectual idea of their choosing. I think it's a really fine program. They're supported the entire way, particularly if these students are wanting to go to more premier, universities. If they're wanting to apply to Ivy, they get a lot of support on that. I'm seeing questions about colleges that our students go to. Our scholars who are wanting that additional challenge are then applying to those really premier institutions and having really nice acceptance rates.
Thank you so much. So the viewers can see a little bit more from our classrooms. We're going to play a short video. Just another reminder that we want your questions coming in. We have a lot of great questions coming in. please just remember to post them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, using hashtag AskNMMI. You can place them in the YouTube chat or also snap them to us at NMMI Live. Another question from YouTube: are all college courses taken in our 2-year college transferable to a larger 4-year program?
I'll jump in on that one a little bit. For the most part, the answer is yes. If they take very specialized courses, they may end up being elective. Everything will transfer, but sometimes they're elective. However, we have multiple 2+2 agreements, articulation agreements with lots of colleges out there. We do that on purpose so that a student that takes courses here will automatically be able to go to Texas Tech or New Mexico Tech or wherever they decide. We also have an agreement here in the state of New Mexico that anything that is here at this institution will transfer to any college within the state of New Mexico as well. Now, there are times that they might take a course in, let's say, basket weaving, not that we have that course, but that may not transfer as well, that because it's an elective for that student. But because we have such great advisors, they will advise them as to what courses they should do and what they should transfer that might be better for them as well.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Yang, what is the typical class size and how does that affect your teaching? I know you talked about that a little bit earlier, but could you go in a little more detail?
Sure. I'm fortunate enough that I'm teaching college level physics, and college level physics usually require a higher level of math as a prerequisite. So my class size is usually small, some around 10 to 12-ish students. And I like this class size is because I feel like I can spend more time on each individuals, and I can clearly see what their each individual needs. And sometimes they ask me to slow down, and I do have the ability to slow down because of my class size, and I can take care of almost everybody in the classroom. And they ask a lot of questions. If they don't understand, I do have time to go over. And also the small size classroom size give me a little bit more flexibilities. So for example, if I have a kid who's going to be on a trip and they're going to miss the school, and for him, I can usually, because of the classroom size, I can always give him the flexibility. Okay, you can skip this class and then you come back to me, either using morning tutoring and like schedule a time sometime in the afternoon. I can personally deliver the lesson to these cadets. And the smaller classroom size, I do feel like the strong connection between me and the cadets, and in order for me to effectively deliver the knowledge I want to deliver to them, and that we have a very strong bonds between each other, and I do enjoy it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dean Griego, can you go into a little detail about the Night Study Hall program and how that works for our cadets?
Yeah, the Night Study Hall program is really kind of an exciting approach because it really does help prepare cadets for the classes and for the future in many ways. For instance, let me give you some of the examples of that's available to the students. One is the peer tutoring program. The peer tutors, we average about 500 cadets a month that are getting help from other cadets. These are the cadets that have at least a 3.5 or higher. They have to have a high GPA in order for us to hire them. And then that really helps them with their math and science and history and English and other areas where some of the kids are struggling. We also have a math and science faculty that are available to help at Night Study Hall as well. And we have a math tutoring that happens in Wilson, in one of our buildings over here. We also have tutoring that we schedule throughout, Wilson and McClure. And in fact, there's teachers available all throughout the day at every single period that they can get help. And they can get help at nighttime at Night Study Hall, and then they can get help even later on because we have a tutor.com, which is 24/7. They can get help through tutor.com if they need to. And of course, they can always go to the library and study, and the librarian's there to help them as well. And if that still doesn't work, then you can use paid tutors and at a certain price. But I would tell you there's probably not much need to do that because we have a great Night Study Hall tutoring system that helping these kids. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as to how we do pretty well at that.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Mayo Finter, what does growth look like for our cadets at NMMI?
Sure. I think that one of the things we see with our cadets is that oftentimes they come in to our campus, and of course, we're limiting, their behaviors. We're limiting, they're on our campus. They board with us. They have to follow specific rules. So I think that sometimes that's initially very difficult for them, and it's hard to get adjusted to. But I think that one of the things that they often grow in is they come to recognize that some of the things that they valued before, that they thought was something that they desired or wanted, or was maybe, a goal, was not the sort of thing that will be, what best serves them in their life. And so I often find that they end up growing and becoming more mature in their thinking. They begin to realize the way that some of these roles that were initially kind of annoying for them come to have a vital importance to their life, where it really does benefit their ability to achieve their goals, their ability to become, reasoned thinkers, and, just to become people who understand how to prioritize their lives and how to, to live a good life, as maybe one of our philosophers might say.
Thank you. Lieutenant Colonel Kembler, what does the military part of NMMI add to a cadet's academic life as a cadet and then even beyond?
What NMMI brings to the students is it's responsibility, some time management, respect. They pick all that up as part of the military discipline that's goes along with being at NMMI, and I think that plays a critical role in how they lead their lives once they leave NMMI, because they can manage themselves better because they learn that, and I think that's an important aspect of this.
Can you also share a little bit about the co-curricular moments outside of the classroom? Any academic competitions?
Oh, the co-curricular activities. I'm co-sponsor of our STEM club here at NMMI, and the STEM club, there's actually two parts to this. One little part was they won first place last year in the New Mexico State Science and Engineering Fair, which is ISEF, which is the International Science and Engineering Fair. It's a sanctioned event. It's global. And because of that, they got to go to Dallas, Texas, and it was all expenses paid. And they won fourth place at that International Science and Engineering Fair, which is called ISEF, in the plant sciences category, and that was in Dallas. They won a cash prize of $500, but that's not that was not much. But they were competing against 50 different projects globally. There were 21 different categories overall, with more than 1,300 participants from all over the world, and NMMI placed, and that was probably to see the look on their face and the excitement that they got out of that, knowing that they had that they really accomplished something. That was worth every moment, and that was pretty exciting for them. That's just one of the many things that we've had. We've had opportunities to talk to the International Space Station, which was a number of years ago, using our own equipment that's in what's called the Daniels Leadership Center. We have a radio room over there that is basically run by the cadets, but it is part of the NMMI Ham Radio Club. So being able to talk to the International Space Station was another pretty exciting moment for the cadets.
Lots of opportunities for our cadets. Dr. Mayo Fincher, can you talk about the multitude of cultures and backgrounds that come together in the Corps of Cadets and how it comes together in a classroom?
Yes, thank you. I think I'll speak to other areas of my department as well in answering this question. I'm lucky to serve as chair of fine arts and philosophy, but that also includes band and choir. And so, one of the things that's really neat to see is students coming from across the globe to our campus, coming from different cultural backgrounds, different regions, different ways of thinking, different perspectives, coming together to play instruments, joining together in a common love of instrumentation. They say that during World War II, that jazz made its way across the globe, and we have a very talented jazz musician as our band director, and so we really get to see that played out on our stage. We also had very interesting intersections last year. We had a Mongolian throat singer who was part of our choir. And so it was really neat for students to have that experience of hearing, his way of singing, and getting to be part of his tradition, getting to be part of his culture, and having that sort of cultural exchange. We have American Samoan students who are just fantastic singers, fantastic instrument players. But also outside of our music program, in our arts program, there's been really neat collaboration between our art professor and one of our English professors. They've worked together with a world mythologies class to find ways to make those stories real. And so through drawing on the sidewalk, through street art, where they're drawing outside and making those visual to the campus. So it's not just the students learning the cultural stories, the mythologies, philosophies and religions of different cultures across the world. But it's not just the students in those two classes, but it's also the rest of our campus getting to engage with it, since it is outside, it is visual for us. And I had a really neat moment in one of my classes last year in philosophy. We engage with a lot of questioning, a lot of thinking, and considering questions that tend to, confound us and confuse us and require us to be really deep, careful thinkers. And I had 4 students stay after class to have a debate. And it was just a really beautiful moment of them coming together. I had a student from the Ukraine, a student from India, a student from Australia, and a student from New Zealand, and just getting to see them come together and have this really thoughtful conversation where they got to share their upbringing, share their culture, their ideas and perspective, and all, put that into a dialogue and learn from each other. It was really, I think, one of those moments that makes our campus special and unique, and is really a great opportunity for people who are wanting really engaged learning.
Thank you so much. We have a few questions that are coming in from YouTube. I'm already in JROTC. How can that help me get into the school? And another question kind of to go with that, how does Eagle Scout kind of benefit getting into the school as well?
I'll go ahead and jump in on that. Because we have a very robust JROTC program, I think the last 7 or 8 years in a row, we've won the highest standard you can get in JROTC, which I forget what it's called. It's called JPA is a thing, but it's the highest standard you can get. I think out of the 132 years, the last 100 years, we've always met our standards or exceeded those standards. Before that, there was no anything to look at. So it's pretty impressive what's going on. So what happens if you have JROTC, you're going to be very well prepared for the military life that that we have here. You understand JROTC already. You understand how to march already. You'll know how to salute. This is a big advantage right off the bat because one of the biggest issues that people have is trying to get used to that sort of military structure. But that military structure is what teaches them things like discipline and perseverance and dedication, and makes them a better person along the way. And we literally work hard at leadership, and we assess them on leadership, and we assess them across the board on critical thinking skills and oral communication and written communication, and it goes on. And we meet those standards every single year. I looked at the numbers the last 8 years alone. We've never not met our standards. We just do an outstanding job. So that when you have that, you're getting well prepared. And the same thing happens if you've been like an Eagle Scout, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or anything else. You understand the concept of dedication and discipline. And that's one of the central areas, duty, honor, achievement, we say here. And so it's this idea, you already have part of that, and you should be a nice fit coming into the Institute.
Thank you, sir. Before we jump back into the questions, I wanted to talk a little bit about the admissions standpoint. And from the admissions side, we do have a few questions about the admissions process. So if you are interested, we are currently accepting applications for the fall semester. which will begin in August. You just need to go to our website, submit an application, and one of our counselors will be in contact with you. Our admissions requirements, students, high school students need to have a 2.0 GPA or higher. They need to complete a math placement exam and also an entrance interview, along with a few other documentation. A student asked if they have a better chance of getting accepted if they're based in New Mexico. We do accept students from all over the world. We currently have 33 different countries represented on our campus, along with about 47 different states. We are having an open house on March 2nd. That will be an in-person live open house on our campus. If you are interested, you can please register on our website. Dean Griego, how do NMMI cadets compare to other students in the state and beyond?
Okay, well, now I get to brag a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and brag about NMMI. One of the things that we do is that we're probably one of the best that you could ever think about. We're actually the best in the nation in dealing what's called Title IV kids. These are our BC students. These are the ones that really come in more at risk. And the state average is 19% will go off to college. The national average is 25%. We're the best there's nobody better than us. We're 71%. The next closest to us is 62%. So if you have a student that, or our student that's a BC type of student, we have incredible systems in place to help you do that. I told you about the peer tutoring programs. We got the early warning system where we follow everything that you do. So we also do, we check if you show up for classes. So we take an app and we check on you. If you're not there, immediately everybody knows that you're not there. And it goes to the principal. It goes to me. I know if you don't show up for class, the principal will go out of his office and knock on your door if you don't show up for class. The state average in chronic absenteeism is 40%, the highest in the nation here in New Mexico. NMMI is at 0.5%, just to give you a sense of how good we are. Now you can say, oh, you've got a captured audience, but the best boarding school in the nation has 10% chronic absenteeism, and we're still at 0.5%. And that's because of the dedication to our faculty. And it's paid dividends with the work that they've done. Let's just take a look at our ACT averages alone. Our ACT averages are 28% above the state average, 28%. Math is close to 40% above the state average. So if you take an ACT score and you want to score well in math, this is the place to go. It is rigorous. It's really difficult. Our English is about 31% above the state average, and everything else is in the 20s or above. And that's pretty impressive work that's going on over here. So we do some really good work to get these kids ready for the world of work. And then we assess them across the board. This assessment, like I told you about, like written communication, information literacy, technology, oral written communication, and we meet those standards. And what's really interesting about it is every year that they're here, it gets better and better and better. It's really amazing thing. I've never seen that in my 32 years of academia. It's probably one of the finest institutions in terms of that. And it shows too, because it's not just AT scores. Our GPAs are better than others out there. Our course evaluations, we average 4.5 and the state average is 3.7. We're 20% higher than the state average. And that's because we have really wonderful teachers. And these students, honestly, they'll complain about the food, the dorms, or anything else, but they never complain about our teachers. And the results have been excellent. As a result, in 2023 and even going into 2024, 3 websites have already noted that we're the #1 school in the state of New Mexico. Boarding School Review, I think, is one of them, rated as #1. Academic Influence rated as #1, and also Niche Magazine rated as #1. And that's because we just do a really good job, and we have great numbers. So if you're looking to get a student or be a student here at NMMI, you're going to get an excellent education that's going to prepare you well for the world of college if you want to go to college, because we are a college prep school, but we'll prepare you for the world of the military, or we'll prepare you for going into a vocational education or trade school as well. We have a program that allows you to transfer over into a voc tech program if that's truly what you want to do. So we look at every avenue and try to make things better, and it's working. So thanks for the opportunity to brag about NMI. It's a great school.
Thank you, sir. We have a question from Jacob. How much free time do cadets have? Dr. Yang?
You see me smiling. Okay, so free time, how you gonna define free time is, I'd say if you define free time is the freedom for you to choose the topic you want to study, to choose the resource you want to utilize, to choose the activity you want, then we do have a lot of free time. So outside the academic time, you do have a lot of free time to choose the activity you want to participate. So you can choose the sports as activity. You can choose the all kinds of clubs as activity. You do have a lot of freedom to choose the one you want actually to be participating. But if you want to define free time as like a relaxing time, doing nothing time, we don't have a lot, especially for high school students. The high school student has rigorous academic schedules during the day, and their class, I have to say, because our credentials, majority, a lot of us has doctoral degrees, and we're teaching high school students, and our curriculum is rigorous, and the kids cannot have free relaxing time. They have to use a lot of time to study, go over the material. So if you want a free time to play video games, you do hanging out with your friends and playing around, goof around. We don't have that type of free time, but we do have a free time for you to actually to take the resource we offered at NMMI to go into the field that might going to benefit for you in the future, either for applying colleges or make it as your career choices, entry level introduction to career choices. So I would say how you define a free time.
And just to follow up on Dr. Yang's answer, if you are interested in video games, there is an esports program, so you can join that club. And we do have an air rifle club as well to speak to that question.
Hey, I'd like to add something to that as well, because I'm always preaching to my class in reference to time management, and I will mention this: you do have time. You do have some time for you, and it depends upon how you manage your time. If you get all of your work done and you are dedicated to finishing things and getting the work done, then guess what? You'll have the time to, don't think that you won't have time to play and enjoy yourself, because you will. And that's based upon what you do. It's based upon what we call time management. If you don't manage it well, I can tell you right now, you're going to be in some trouble, because we are a rigorous school. But if you manage your time, you'll do just fine.
Thank you. Another question from Cheryl. My son is very involved in church, youth group, choir, Bible camps. Will he be able to participate while attending NMMI?
Oh, I can answer that. We have a great chaplain here. We have a beautiful church right here. He set up a lot of groups, study group, Bible study book groups, and there is a lot of opportunity on that. I knew him. He's very good. We do have a lot of opportunities. So
I'd like to jump in on that too. We do have a dedicated chaplain here, and that's his job, is really to bring that part. We have both Protestant and Catholic services, but let's just say that none of the services here work for you. Then we work with all the other churches in the area. They sometimes will come get our cadets, or sometimes if they, they'll just walk over there, or we provide a ride to them to go to church. So there's always those opportunities to do that, and there's a lot of things that they can do, within the community to help out. It just goes on and on and on. Your problem is really going to be, can you get that time to do all those things? There will be, like, Colonel Kimbler said, but they're just it just takes that effort and time to manage it, and you'll be fine.
And we do have a choir program. I noticed that question includes an interest in choir. We do have a very strong choir program. We have a new choir director who has a lot of experience in vocal training in particular. And he is teaching a vocal ensemble class for students who have had more training in choir and are, ready to take their voice to the next level. And we have a concert choir class for those, new to singing, or even seasoned singers who are still, needing more practice. So we have both of those offerings. And we have some performance opportunities coming up this spring. We always have a spring concert for the kids to participate in, and they enjoy that. And then we'll have opportunities for the choir in particular to go sing as a choral ensemble with another group in Albuquerque, some schools from across the state. So they certainly get those opportunities and get to still engage with those sorts of things that they have a deep passion for.
Thank you. Dean Griego, another question. In the case of athletes, how is their major determined, and is it possible to transfer to a UC system university?
Yeah, we basically offer an associate's and of arts and associates of science. So it's not like you get to really pick a major. You can pick a concentration. Concentration's everything, engineering, computer science, pre-nursing. There's different areas that you can pick that will prepare you to get into that world of work, especially if you're an athlete. As an athlete, you have other challenges as well, because being student athlete requires another extra hour of more hours of time to practice as well. So, you end up being a little bit more crunched than others, but we have incredible sports teams. When I say incredible, we national champion, state champion level type of teams. They travel a lot. They're highly recruited by Division I schools, and they're not just recruited, but our coaches are recruited oftentimes too. And they go on. I'll give you a case of one of a particular student that I had that was here 2 years ago. He wasn't a strong student. Last test, last assignment, he was just passed it with a 2.0. He went on to become a star running back at a major university Division I school. Is now being recruited by the NFL. Will probably be starting somewhere between 5 and 10 million a year, starting in the fall. That's the kind of work that we do, and we have time after time after time. Division I athletes are going different places, but even if they don't go to a Division I school, Division II, Division III, and NAIA, there's the NAIA will give you a full scholarship, where the Division I might only give you a partial scholarship. So you also want to think about those smaller schools where you become a big fish in a small pond. So yes, we have a very competitive teams. They're terrific. If you get a chance to see our facilities, they're beautiful. Just come see to Cahoon Armory, where we do our basketball and volleyball games. It's just gorgeous. We got baseball fields are just lovely. We got, it's just a beautiful campus. It really is.
Thank you, sir. Another question from Amari. Are cadets able to hang out in other cadets' dorms? Lieutenant Colonel Kimbler?
I can answer that very quickly. No. Yeah, let's say that there are certain times, should I say, certainly not at night. They can't do things like that because that's the fraternization type of thing. But you know what? They do study together. There are certain hours that they can do that. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, I'm trying to think of a good way to put that. Maybe somebody else could chime in on that. But that's essentially that's I don't know. That's it, I guess. I mean.
They can't go to the dorms. You're right. I would agree, but they do make time for each other. The people that come here have relationships for life. I mean, the friends that they have will they keep 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40, even 50 years. I've seen where they maintain, and they come back again and again. So something special and magical happens at NMMI, maybe because they're all kind of in one place and they all experiencing the same thing. And they all went through Rat Week, as we call it. That's a resident training. And it's very rigorous and difficult. But they lean on each other and they help each other. And in fact, if we take a look at, speaking to the other athlete, our athletes have a better retention rate than our non-athletes. And the reason why is because they help each other. They work together. They support one another as a team does. So yeah, this is, at every level, something neat is happening. Do they get to hang out in the dorms? No, but there's all kinds of other places that they can hang out together. They go to games together. There's times when if you do well and you don't get a lot of demerits, then you get off on Saturday or Sunday and just go roam around, the city area. So there's a lot of neat things that they can do, and they do that together. It is really kind of magical and fun to watch.
Thank you. Dr. Mayo Fincher, what time do cadets typically have to be awake to attend classes, and what are the school hours? This is from Amari.
So the school day starts at 7:15. That's when our tutorial period is, and it goes until 3:30. So students are, ready for class at 7:15. They may decide to attend tutoring. They may not, depending on what their needs are. For high school, many of them do attend the tutoring. College, typically fewer, but it's available to them. And I think that's very unique to our campus. We spend many of our hours available to the cadets to assist them, as Dr. Yang was saying earlier, with any sorts of concepts they're not getting, giving them individual learning time. But what time does their days start more properly? That really just depends upon, on the core side, the military side of the campus, what time that they're waking up really just depends upon the day. And that does shift slightly by day. So I'm less able to speak to it exactly that time is. I want to say it's 6 a.m., but I could be completely wrong on that. So
Yeah, I'll jump in. It is 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And it is a busy time for you. There is time to have that free time, but you have to make it, as Lieutenant Colonel Kimbler said, you have to manage your time well. But it is 6 in the morning. You'll hear, revelry. You'll hear the horns go off, and then you got to get out there and formation at 6:30, and they march you to get some food, and then you go off to class, and then it's just all going from class to class. Sometimes you don't have a class, and then you have some free time to either study or relax. College students have more free time than high school students. And then after that, there's a PE requirement, and after the PE requirement, there's potential activities, or they're practicing with athletes, and then there's night study hall. You got to go eat, and then night study hall, and then lights out at 10 o'clock. And sometimes they don't get lights out at 10 o'clock. They're studying with their flashlight at 11 or 12 at night. But that's a time management problem.
Thank you so much for all the questions and all the comments and all the helpful information tonight. Let's wrap up tonight's discussion with one more final question. It's going to be kind of a two-part. So to all the faculty tonight, how does NMMI prepare cadets for the future?
I'm happy to start us off on that one. I think that, on our campus, we really train students in what's called virtue ethics, and that's a really ancient ethical theory. And it's really a nice idea for society because it means that virtues are skills that you become proficient in over time. And so you learn situational awareness, you learn how to answer the demands of a particular moment, and those demands change, as we know from life experience. Those demands are different with every situation. And so we have to have that proficiency in understanding what a situation demands of us, what right action looks like. And I think we do an excellent job of preparing students for a future in that way, and getting them ready for the world and how to find, both a realization of their goals throughout their life, but also how to flourish and be happy in their lives as well.
Thank you. And why would a cadet want to be part of NMMI's academic programs?
I'll jump in, but I honestly believe it's one of the finest institutions in the United States. If you were to take a look at our ranking alone, we're in the top 2% in the nation for community college and high schools. That's a pretty impressive number to be at. And that's because of the strong metrics that we do. And that's because we have a strong, rigorous program. You can't come here and just sort of, goof off. It's just not going to work. You're going to have to get up early. You have to go, study. And then there'll be some free time. And then you got to do some more studying. And then you do it again and again. And sleep becomes, one of those things that you will treasure more than anything else. But something, again, I told you this before, magical happens. You come out a better person. We know that. We track them. They're better leaders. They do terrific things. At NMI alone, we've had 59 generals come out of that were cadets that came here. And here's an interesting fact about that. Only 2 would have made the deans or generals list. All of them were BC students. We've had, number of CEOs, 9 CEOs. When I talk about we've had a lot more than that, but 9 major CEOs of Sears, Pillsbury, Hilton Hotels, Chili's. It goes on and on. And by the way, they were all BC students, except for one. He was a 4.0, and I'm gonna probably embarrass ourselves a little bit. He was a 4.0, and he was the CEO of Playboy magazine. I thought that was interesting.
Hey, I want to chime in on that as well, because not the Playboy magazine part, but when I go to these science STEM challenges to places like New Mexico Tech, and I just want to bring this as an example. Anytime those instructors there, I've had them walk up to me and say, the students that the NMMI cranks out, and they say NMMI, but they say that those students are some of the best that they have, and that makes me feel good. It should make anyone feel good to be able to hear that, and that is the God's honest truth. They actually say, you know what, NMMI turns out some outstanding students that we want to have at our university. When you hear another school asking for your students, that's the best you can get. What more can you ask for?
Thank you, sir. And thank you everyone for watching tonight. If you're interested in learning more about what NMMI has to offer, please visit our website, or you can email our admissions department directly at admissions@nmmi.edu. If you want to apply, that's also available on our website. Please remember, you can always watch any parts of this back, and please share with others who might be interested in NMMI. Once again, we want to thank you for joining us, and have a good night.